the latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. All in all, the Savior, the Protector, the Unifier, the Messiah, the King of Kings, the most loved. Captain Ibrahim Traore has shocked everybody globally. Young, old are all talking about it. We never believed that there are people who love Captain Ibrahim Traore so much. Even Yellow Papa's people are running after Captain Ibrahim Traore. This is amazing. But there are some people that are not happy. Some people have started arresting their citizens who came out to protest in support of Captain Ibrahim Traore. We know these people are not happy because now they are crying and they are very shaken by their positions. They are very shaken by what they have seen, because the fear in them is maybe the youth will rise up and make sure we do away with all of them. So because of that, they have to make sure they silence us. So people in other countries like Liberia have started arresting their citizens who came out to support Captain Ibrahim Traore. To them, what we are doing is sending a signal to the military to rise up and intervene, because we know that when things become difficult, the military are there to save us. So what they have seen, they never expected. All that they were thinking is this thing that we were saying on social media, how on the 30th of April is going to be, was just going to be like, let's watch and see. But finally, when they saw the massive crowd all over the world that came to support Captain Ibrahim Traore, they are now having sleepless nights. Some of them don't understand how Captain Ibrahim Traore, Assimi Goïta, and Abdurrahmane Tchiani have succeeded in moving all of us away from these people for these years that they've been able to pollute us. So how we are able to come out of the pollution all of a sudden is a shock to them, because these people just came into office within some 2 years and they have seen a different dimension in Africa that they themselves haven't seen before.
Liberian government, let me say this very respectfully, shame on you. So I was watching a live section where some civilians in Liberia were protesting in solidarity of Ibrahim Traore, Sahel State and Burkina Faso, where the police officer came, you can see on the picture, and tell them to stop or else they will be arrested. And mind you, it was very peaceful protest.
A Pan-African revolution is erupting, and at the heart of this upheaval is Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, a 37-year-old military captain who has become the embodiment of African resistance, dignity and self-determination. On Wednesday, April 30th, 2025, thousands of Africans, from Burkina Faso to Ghana, Liberia to beyond, poured into the streets, their voices united under the defiant cry of "Hands off the AES" and "Long live Captain Traore." These protests, sparked by a foiled coup attempt allegedly orchestrated from Ivory Coast and inflammatory remarks by US AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley, have not only rallied Burkinabe but ignited a Pan-Africanist fervour that has left African leaders trembling, embarrassed and exposed. For the first time in modern history, citizens of one African nation are taking to the streets to defend the leader of another, while their own presidents languish in the shadows of public disdain. This is no ordinary moment. It's a revolution of consciousness, and Traore is its torchbearer. In Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso's capital, the Place de la Révolution was transformed into a sea of defiance as thousands rallied in support of Captain Traore and his military junta. The demonstrations were a direct response to a major plot uncovered on April 21st, 2025, which Burkina Faso's military authorities claimed was orchestrated from neighbouring Ivory Coast to overthrow Traore and sow total chaos. Adding fuel to the fire, General Michael Langley's April 3rd testimony before the US Senate, where he accused Traore of misusing Burkina Faso's gold reserves for personal gain, was perceived as a blatant imperialist attack. Protesters in Ouagadougou waved Burkina Faso and Russian flags, a nod to Traore's pivot toward non-Western alliances, and brandished banners denouncing Langley, some scrawling slave across his image in bold red ink. "Long live Captain Traore," they chanted, their voices echoing a resolute rejection of foreign interference. But what makes this moment historic is its continental and global reach. In Monrovia, Liberia, citizens defied their government to stage a peaceful African march for freedom under the banner of solidarity with Traore. On Wednesday, a group of Liberian protesters marched to the Ivorian embassy, their placards blazing with anti-imperialist slogans. They accused Ivory Coast and the United States of colluding to destabilize Burkina Faso, demanding that both nations desist from meddling in the internal governance of Burkina Faso. Their statement was unequivocal. The people of Burkina Faso deserve peace. President Traore is delivering meaningful development and must be allowed to continue serving his people. The protesters attempted to deliver petitions to other diplomatic missions but were halted by Liberia's national police, who cited a lack of protest permits. In a chilling escalation, Liberian authorities arrested some demonstrators and issued threats, signalling the depth of unease Traore's influence is causing among African elites. In Accra, Ghana, the Socialist Movement of Ghana led a solidarity rally, declaring Traore a symbol of African dignity and resistance. Ghanaians too joined the chorus of Hands Off the AES, a reference to the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, the revolutionary confederation of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger that has become a bulwark against neo-colonialism. Remarkably, citizens from across Africa, including those from countries as far afield as South Africa and Nigeria, either travelled to Ouagadougou or organised parallel protests in their own capitals. Sekou Ansumariam Dukali, a Liberian protester who journeyed to Burkina Faso, captured the sentiment perfectly. I came to Ouagadougou today to participate in this demonstration in support of Captain Ibrahim Traore because he represents hope for Africa, hope for black people, hope for all freedom fighters around the globe. Even beyond Africa, diaspora communities and anti-imperialist activists in Europe and the Americas took to the streets, amplifying Traore's message of sovereignty. To understand why Captain Ibrahim Traore has ignited such unprecedented support, we must first examine the man and his mission. Since seizing power in a September 2022 coup, the second that year, Traore has positioned himself as a modern-day Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary icon, often dubbed Africa's Che Guevara. At just 34 when he took power, Traore promised to restore security, dignity and prosperity to a nation ravaged by jihadist insurgencies and neo-colonial exploitation. Unlike many African leaders who pay lip service to progress while cozying up to Western powers, Traore has walked the talk with audacious, people-centered policies. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has expelled French military forces, terminated exploitative mining agreements, and rejected the CFA franc, a colonial-era currency that shackles West African economies to France. Traore has redirected national wealth toward grassroots development, investing in education, healthcare, and food security despite crippling illegal sanctions from Western powers. His nationalization of Burkina Faso's gold reserves, a move that enraged General Langley, ensures that the country's resources benefit its people, not foreign corporations. We will mine our gold ourselves, not for France, not for the West, but for our people, Traore declared, a statement that has become a rallying cry across the continent. Traore's defiance of imperialism is matched by his commitment to regional unity. As a key architect of the AES, he has forged a confederation with Mali and Niger, all of which have expelled French troops and prioritized African solutions to African problems. This alliance, formalized on July 6, 2024, represents a radical departure from the Western-dominated economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, which Traore has accused of serving imperialist interests. His vision of a new Africa, free from imperialism and neo-colonialism, resonates deeply with a generation of Africans disillusioned by leaders who prioritize foreign approval over domestic progress. But it's not just policy that endears Traore to the masses. It's his authenticity. A shy schoolboy turned counter-terrorism captain, Traore is a man of the people, often seen in military fatigues rather than the opulent suits favoured by Africa's political elite. His speeches are direct, unfiltered, and laced with the truths that pierce the veil of neo-colonial deceit. This continent has suffered and continues to suffer from the fire of the imperialists, he declared at the AES summit in Niamey, Niger on July 6, 2024. Such words are not mere rhetoric, They are a call to action, galvanizing Africans to reclaim their destiny. The outpouring of support for Traore has cast a harsh spotlight on African leaders, many of whom are now grappling with embarrassment and fear. The sight of their own citizens marching for a foreign leader, while ignoring or openly criticizing their own presidents, is a public relations disaster and a stark indictment of their failures. In Liberia, President Joseph Boakai's administration was caught flat-footed as citizens rallied for Traore, only to face arrests and threats for expressing solidarity. The heavy-handed response betrays a deeper anxiety. If Liberians are willing to risk their freedom for a Burkinabe leader, what does that say about their faith in Boakai's government? In Ivory Coast, President Alassane Ouattara faces accusations of being a dedicated US-EU NATO collaborator, with protesters in Monrovia and Ouagadougou alleging that his government is a staging ground for plots against Traore. These claims, echoed by Burkina Faso's military authorities, have intensified tensions between the two nations, with Traore himself accusing Ivory Coast of harbouring destabilisers. The protests outside the Ivorian embassy in Monrovia were a humiliating blow to Ouattara, exposing his vulnerability to public dissent and undermining his regional influence. Across the continent, leaders like Nigeria's Bola Tinubu and Kenya's William Ruto are watching with trepidation. Their citizens' participation in pro-Traore protests signals a growing rejection of the status quo. Governments that rely on IMF loans, Western military bases, and extractive industries to prop up their regimes. As one Ghanaian protester put it, our leaders borrow billions from the West, but what do we see? Inflation, unemployment, and excuses. Traore is building schools and hospitals with Burkina Faso's gold. Why can't our president do the same? This sentiment, echoed in ex-posts and street demonstrations, underscores the shame of leaders who have failed to inspire or deliver.
This is something that is even shocking Yolo Papa himself, because all they know is every day we sit down for them to feed us with their media lies, their propaganda, and that is what we buy into. So always we fold our arms, waiting for these people to come into the continent and do whatsoever that they want to do. But now we have sent a signal to these people that the time of Muammar Gaddafi, Sankara, Lumumba and Nkrumah is over. We are no longer going to allow them to tell the story from their perspective. Like Captain Ibrahim Traore said, a slave that is not ready to fight for himself doesn't deserve pity. So if we are slaves and we want to be pitied, we are the ones that need to rise up and fight for ourselves. What these our leaders always sit in their meetings to talk about wouldn't give us the freedom. And that is why we've seen that all these years we have been waiting for the freedom, and yet we are not getting it. Now that we have risen by ourselves to fight for the freedom, we are seeing results that are being yielded out of our strength. Captain Ibrahim Traore is saying that we are his strength and he is our strength. All that we needed was a good leader who will lead us for us to see the revolution. Everybody across the globe is tired of this oppression from these people. Enough of the oppression. Africa deserves to be free. The resources on our land belong to us and no other person. These people come into the continent and rob us with these ones that they've kept there as gatekeepers to make sure that whatsoever they want goes to them. Have always made sure they do nothing but rather to see the continent go backwards in order to please Yolo Papa. And this is the reason to which they are targeting Captain Ibrahim Traore for rising up to support and make sure he liberates the continent. What we are seeing is a liberation for all Africans, and not only the people in Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso. This is a revolution. Like Nkrumah said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless until it's linked to the total liberation of all Africans. And that is what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, their liberation is going to be meaningless if it's not linked to all of us. And this is the linkage we have been waiting for. On the 30th, we have made history. Our ancestors who sacrificed everything were so happy. They have now had a relief. What they have been looking for, the unity of Africans all over the world, is coming to pass or has come to pass. And this is beautiful. What we have been calling for, that these leaders have decided to yield to the cry of Yolo Papa instead of the cry of the continent, has come to pass. But these leaders are not happy. Most of them, after everything that they saw on social media, on televisions and everything, these people are not sleeping. They are not shaking. Now they'll find means and ways to make sure that they get the military by their side. And we know what they always do to them, giving them money. But the military should understand that how long will this money last you? What we are fighting for is a total liberation for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So do not allow any politician, yellow papa, use the money, the peanut, to deceive you, so that your next generations that are coming will suffer. We have risen, and enough is enough. It is our resources, and it must benefit us. Like Captain Ibrahim Traore said, we can never have all these things and still be suffering. Those of us who are into the security, you have to think twice if you are being given something to fight against this revolution. We have risen, and there's nothing that is going to stop the African. Our freedom must be given, and we must take it by force, because nobody will release it if we don't fight for it. Shame on the leaders who are doing everything possible to make sure that the support that we have for our captain will not come to pass. We'll continue to support them, and we'll continue to be with them until we are free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make African great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa and in Liberia.